Greetings, Internet. It's Alex and Louis and Davey, who's there. And what we have here is our 110, well, Activier 110T. So, little active bass cab, which can also do double duty as a PA cab. And people have said, can you use it for FRFR guitars? So, sticking a guitar modeler of some sort, analog, digital, whatever.
Yeah.
So, we've got a Boss IR2 amp and cabinet pedal down here. We're using the cab models on it because it is kind of FRFR cab. We do make a dedicated guitar FRFR cab, which is the Reality. This is the prototype one, so the back is just a plain aluminium panel with some knobs and jacks. But this is really, really, really good as FR. But it's not a bass cab. So
you're right.
The question is, if you're someone who plays both bass and guitar at home and wants a convenient solution, also note the 110T is an awful lot smaller than the Reality. It's a very, very, very small bass cab.
Yeah.
Can you use this for guitar and bass at home? Can you gig with them? Is it good enough? And I'm like, well, I know it's great for bass up to its volume limit.
Right. To start there with bass, what is the limit on the size of gig you do something?
I think that depends entirely on how loud a player you are and the band is.
Sure.
I mean, we found it runs to about clean to about 118, 119 decibels and gets growly for another few dB more.
That's really loud.
It is quite loud, isn't it?
Based upon a lot of the sound limiter gigs that I do.
Yeah, so
6-piece bands, they're 95 dB.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the sound meter's going to be a lot further away than what I'm quoting at 1 meter, but yeah, it's going to move some air.
That's it. Yeah.
I guess you could consider this the 110 generally as similar output to a pretty decent 2x10 or 1x15.
Right.
Its speaker moves about twice as far as a typical bass cab, so it's essentially can move twice as much air. So it's like a 210 or 115 or a good 112.
So then the question is, does that translate to guitar? And how far can we take it gig wise, and what would we use it for?
Oh, I don't know how loud it'll go for guitar.
Exactly. So
it'll probably go quite loud. But it's more of a tone thing I was curious about, because although it's not as FRFR as our most accurate cabs that we make.
No.
But there's a lot of so-called FRFR cabs that strike me as someone's just put a woofer and a tweeter in a box like a cheap PA speaker and called that good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is as good as any of them.
Yeah, I mean, so to make it clear, there's one 10-inch bass driver in here, the Bareface one that Alex made, the 10CR, and then we do have the tweeter in the top, which we've got.
Yes.
Full -3 dB, -6 dB, and -9 dB on the back.
Yes.
So we've got control over that. I've got it set to -6 at the moment.
Oh no, hang on.
Not -9.
Let me correct that. On the Reality, it's like that.
Yeah.
On the 110T,
yeah,
because the woofer is a bit quieter than the tweeter, essentially the positions are the equivalent of boost by 3 dB, flat,
right,
cut by 3 dB, or off. That's how I would think of it.
They're
labelled for clarity 0, -3, -6, and off.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because bassists sometimes want to turn their tweeter off.
That makes a lot more sense now. Okay, because I was playing around with that earlier. I've got it set to the -6 one, so that's minus.
It's like 3 dB down, yeah.
3 dB.
Little cut.
I found with it a bit more for guitar, it was a bit toppy.
Right. Okay. Again, it's going to depend on the room you're in. It's going to depend where you stand. Depends the sound you choose to put in and
the player you are, the guitar you're playing, what you like, what you're used to. But I mean.
I've particularly got Davey here because he's going to play some guitar in a bit, but also as a set of guitarist ears as opposed to bassist who hangs around with guitarists ears. And I'm much better at assessing a guitar in the mix. Here it sounds like a guitar to me. Nice one though.
It's a nice, clean, starting platform. If I'm gonna find a sound. It's really interesting. This is the thing I said a little while ago to Alex before we came in here, that it was going to be a feel thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just a quote-unquote bass driver and stuff. And I mean, that sounds amazing as a clean platform. I play a lot of R&B, so that would just be like, you just record tunes all day with that sound.
Right. It does sound really nice.
That's just awesome.
And the dispersion's good. I'm wandering around the room and it's really quite consistent. I mean, that's what we put a lot of work into our bass cabs to give them good dispersion. But what we can't do is the AVD trick, because you can't get an AVD to tune low enough. And actually, the sort of almost reverberance that the AVD adds by the rearward output coming around you seems to make it takes a bit of the focus off a bass sound.
Sure. So
it puts a bass sound a bit further back in the mix, whilst you usually add reverb to a guitar sound.
Yeah, there's a bit on here.
So you know, it's yeah.
There is a bit of that. That touch thing that I think with guitar, it feels different, and I don't.
Is it quicker?
Maybe that it doesn't feel as it feels a bit quicker. Like on guitar, you can make it really lag and really fall back, and then. Where, out of curiosity, where does this cross over to the tweeter? About where?
About 4-ish. So it's 4 kilohertz.
Quite up there then.
Yeah.
So a lot, and then the.
But remember, it's got the I don't know if we've got one here, but it's got the voice calls straight onto the dust cap.
Mm.
And the dust cap runs up high, and the dust cap's very light, and the cone's very light, and the cone flexes a lot. So although it's a 10, as you're getting higher up into the treble, it's really the voice call that's moving, and most of the cone's being left behind, and it's just the centre of the cone, or even just the dust cap moving. So it's like the speaker's shrinking and sort of becoming quicker and lighter and better at chucking the sound out sideways as it goes higher in frequency. And then it crosses to the tweeter, which also is small.
Yes.
So you get this very consistent sort of dispersion and liveliness.
I'm just thinking of what's happening around that like 2.5, 3K thing. You know, we usually bump guitars in the mix where a lot of this info. And so you're saying, because that's crossing to 4, most of that we'll be getting from the 10CR.
Yeah.
That'll be so that explains why it feels different to a guitar driver, because all of that bit of guitar info that we're used to is coming from the bottom driver.
But remember, I wouldn't think of that as a woofer.
Right.
Or a bass driver. Think of it, if anything, I mean, you can use that driver for guitar, you definitely could. It's just a different colour.
Totally.
But it's in terms of the frequency range it's got. What it doesn't have is the big breakup peak that you normally get with a guitar driver, which is why you're running a speaker model on that pedal.
Yes, totally.
Which will be bringing in that breakup peak.
We're treating this like a FRFR.
Yeah, so that model you're using, Davey has the list.
It's just I'm on the Fender Twin.
So it's the Fender Twin, and then that's...
Don't know if we can call it Fender, but...
And that's a Celestion A-type in a 212 model.
Right, okay.
So the A-type's quite dark to take the edge off the brightness of a Twin. It's a typical sort of American sound speaker. It's a bit like, Fender speaker.
Well, shall I do Dirty and see what happens?
What were you on for Dirty?
I went to Crunch.
Cool, so Crunch is a Boss OG, a Boss original with 212 G1265.
So that's an IR of the 65 Heritage, do you think? If it says G1265.
If it says G12, surely they have to use the real one.
G1265, as opposed to a G12M 65 Creamback.
Yeah. Yes, it would be the Heritage, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Which is a speaker you really like.
I love that one,
It's a great speaker.
Maybe that's why I landed on this, I don't know. I'm going to go up a little bit. Can you just keep an eye on the levels?
Yep.
Is that all right? That's a good old 90% now. And then the volume on here, I'm going to crank a tiny bit. Just because this is sounding really nice, I'm curious as to...
I'm now curious to find out how loud we're going to be going.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what like realistically gig-wise, because that clean sound before was great and really nice. That would be wicked for practicing, recording at home, clean R&B stuff, maybe a really like quiet, cool lounge session vibe. But then some of the bigger gigs that I would do with like a sax player on it and stuff, when you want to kick into a decent solo sound and have all that guitar sound for the solos, like can we get there? So weird. It's like the louder and dirtier we go. I'm going to turn it back down a little bit. It gets a bit trebly, which is.
I was going to say, it sounds like the string. It's that you can really hear the string all of a
It's
sudden.
almost that like jazz chorus sound, isn't it? Where it's like really trebly, really solid state vibes. So obviously we are doing digital modeling stuff.
Yeah.
Today, so that's.
But remember, you got EQ there, obviously.
Yeah, I'm kind of running flat-ish. Let me take some treble down and see what happens.
That was quite loud. That was 118 decibels.
That's up there.
That's quite loud.
Sounds wicked.
Does sound good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
116 dB there.
Yeah.
I have calibrated this previously against our proper dB meter, so
It's hard to say what's sounding like it is and what I'm feeling like it is because it's that cab, or if it's because it's digital modeler, especially one that I'm not used to.
yeah.
I'll hand over to Davey because we play very different sounding guitar, but with the tweeter in the same place and the digital modeler off just earlier, because I was curious as to how it sounds. I mean, you can just put
You can turn the modeler off.
Yeah. You put a little bit of reverb on that and you can just head to your jazz gig. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds nice.
Yeah, if you got a bebop gig, then just like.
If you're not in a nice echoey cafe, do you even need a reverb? Do you just plug straight in?
Fair point, yeah. If I like go to the pubs when I'm Brighton, you see the jazz guys and like older guys have a double bassist, a keys player, and they'll often be a guitarist with like those Roland microcubes. And they'll bring something like that, and this is just a great version of that.
Like a better version of that, and it happens to do bass properly as well.
And it's light. I think it's a great sound. To Davey.
We're using a baritone, but as well use the bassman.
Ah, smart.
Not the baritone man. Well, Barry man.
Barry Manilow.
Manilow.
Baritone. And then we've got the tweeter boosted.
Yes.
What is it? Plus...
So it's 3 dB louder than the woofer, so it's like tweaking your highs up a bit.
And then we changed the clean setting. It's now on the Tweed, which is based on a 59 Fender Bassman with 4 G10 golds. So there's a 410.
Okay.
That's the sound it's giving. This is the sound it actually is.
Nice. That's a real nice resolve as well. That's tweeter full.
Yes.
It's so funny, isn't it? It doesn't sound anywhere near as bright as it felt bright to me when I was on the tweeter pad lower than that.
I
But
guess,
that was the telly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the telly,
You're
yeah.
one of the brightest.
Yeah.
Even on the neck. I mean, I assume you're mostly on the neck. pickup.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
And even that is.
It's a very little pickup on a telly on the neck, so it's a very small aperture, so it's going to
Yeah.
pick up more
Lots
of the
of high.
highs without cancellation.
That
Yeah.
sounds great on that one.
Yeah, I think it works naturally incredibly well for baritone.
Yeah.
It's like whenever we've put a bass driver, the BN12,
Yeah.
for example, into a reformer.
It just reaches lower, doesn't it?
It just does. It
Yeah.
naturally makes sense. So
All the notes you're hitting on the low strings, and you get that separation of notes as well, because a lot of the higher stuff will be coming through the tweeter, and the lower stuff through the woofer.
Yeah.
So you get that clarity when you're doing like more complex chords with nice voice leading in it. It works really well.
Boss OG modded 412 G12 K100.
Yeah.
What do they normally go into? The G12 K100s?
Heavy things.
Just heavy things.
It's for heavy music. I don't know if they make them anymore. We might still have one left.
Oh, actually, yes. I think we do have one somewhere because
Yeah.
every time I see it, I'm like,
Why have we got that?
why have we got that?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see.
I remember it being more of a one-trick pony than like a redback or something. It was more like, I am here to do thrash.
Here's a mid scoop, high
Yeah.
gain.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's see what it sounds
I
like.
do not do blues. It's that kind of thing.
Right hand. Nice.
Yeah. So
That's
very,
Cool.
very rusty because
No, man, that sounded wicked.
That's heavy though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's.
I was switching through the different tweeter
Yes.
settings on that,
yeah.
which makes some very obvious differences. It felt quite Tool when you were chugging away on some of that, you know, with the down tune thing. Some of the Tool songs
Yeah.
where he's down tuned to, there's one that note one laterals that's down in B.
That's proper. Giving me that thing where like it'd be wicked in the studio. This, you know, like songs for the deaf, like all those really MIDI sounds that you could really play with the tweeter and dial your tones into it to get some really, like you said earlier.
That's
like
a funny
guitar-
thought to be taking an FRFR cab and then put weird sounds into it and then mic it in the studio.
Well,
but I guess you could.
It's like you said earlier, like you know, guitar tones in context. So much guitar tones on their own. If you listen to isolated tracks, they're wildly EQ'd and thin and
Yeah.
whatever. Like, and you could get sounds like that out of that so easily. That would be great for tracking. I'm not saying don't use it live because, as I said, like I think the tones I got out of it earlier, I was really happy with. But it's a really cool little studio vibe. That.
Well, we mentioned it. We were talking about it the other day. I'm sure you've heard about it.
Yeah.
Is it, Josh Homme during
yes.
Some of the sessions with Mark Ronson.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, do you want to see my secret weapon?"
Decade?
I think it's a PV Decade, a
Little combo.
tiny,
Solid state.
shitty little
Yeah.
solid state amp, which he said I think was originally meant to be a bass amp,
Yeah.
like a bass combo. But he says he puts every.
I'm certain that's what they use on Songs from the Deaf. That same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And studio stuff is cool like that.
It's just it's just take it, think, oh, that's got a gnarly sound, mic it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Same
Double
with
track
this,
it, put it at the right level. And, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So what we're thinking with this, it is not the be-all and end-all definitive guitar FRFR cab, but it definitely works.
Oh, good, yeah.
You can totally have it if you've got if you want to have one practice cab, one practice system at home for playing bass and guitar through.
Oh god, yeah, and recording through at home and doing
Yeah.
remote sessions from small little jazz gigs and things like
Function
that.
gigs. Well, if it's getting to close to 120 decibels at 1 meter, it's going to fill a pretty big room with sound.
And if you're digital modelling anyway, you're going to be sending a DI to front of house anyway through the PA, and then this is going to be for you or for extra.
Yeah.
Which is going to work more than loud enough for that.
I just want to see what that intro to that Queen's Stone Age song sounds like.
Go on.
It's not getting the same effect, but it's definitely not the PV champ.
But it's in that realm, isn't it? That's kind of what.
Oh, that is good.
There we are. Cool. We've learned something.
Yeah.
That is really good. We had it in here knocking about. I think I was playing around with some sounds and I just plugged it in just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at how nice it sounded. But I had the same thing. It just went straight in and thought, for my stuff, for maybe a session, it might not work unless it's something like a jazzy gig. But
for the right session, it would work.
The right session with the right thing. No matter, IR2 is great, but obviously your HX, even your quad. If you're using a quad for bass,
I'll tell you the other thing. Don't forget, there's all the analog modelers out there. So the guys at Origin Effects have borrowed a cab from us, and we're going to borrow a whole board of demo pedals off them.
Oh.
Have I mentioned that?
No.
No. They need it for guitar shows. They can lend us. they can lend us a demo board that has all their pedals. So then we can make loads of videos with it. And then we might end up having to buy some. But they make some amazing analog models, and the thing about their models is what they've done is they've made miniature versions of all the stages of the circuit, and they all interact in the ways the original one did. To the point on the most recent one, the what's it called, the Tweed, the Deluxe 55.
Yeah.
He said what you can overdrive it and put that on a scope and overdrive the original real combo.
Right.
And you can barely tell the lines apart.
It's amazing.
So it's just like the rectifier does the same things, all the different bits.
Well,
so the thought of because I struggle with the interfaces and all this digital stuff. I think it all sounds great. The Boss actually I like because it feels like an analog pedal when you use it.
Boss layout.
But
for sure.
I can't cope with menus, and I don't want to plug something into a computer. It just makes me angry. But these analog modelling things,
yeah,
they work.
Really cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Rock on. There you are. We've learned something.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Buy this thing. Thank you. See you next time. Oh, like and subscribe. We always forget to say that. Most of you don't. But something like or subscribe.